Hallo und willkommen zum vierten Video von der Ballad noch aus der Beta. Im Prolog hatten wir bereits Ankorn und Leon. Im Beginning haben wir angefangen hier mit Enkalimo. Jetzt möchte ich euch mal Daragast präsentieren, was ich auch gleich mache. Eine kurze Info noch dazu. Jetzt ist der Spielstand praktisch so, als hätte ich mit Enkalimo noch gar nicht gespielt. Man kann in der Beta nicht weiter darüber hinausgehen, wenn da dieser blaue Screen kommt mit Danke für Spielen. Weiter geht's dann nicht. Also kurz nochmal neu angefangen. Mit schnellen Antworten. Keine Zeit verloren. Hier durch. Zack. Und dann geht's auch schon weiter. Der Prolog ist dann zu Ende. Das geht glücklicherweise recht schnell. Und jetzt kommen wir zur Daragast. Ihn hatte ich jetzt noch gar nicht. Den möchte ich euch auch mal zeigen, im Beginning. Dann hätten wir mal alle 4 möglichen Charaktere. Und auf seine Geschichte bin ich auch mal gespannt. Sein Name fiel ja schon ein bisschen. Daragast Lia, ne? Nicht Lia.
Your journey to the Ismarin forest was quite smooth. Meeting Ankorin was incredibly shocking. It awoke ancient feelings you thought were well hidden within your soul. You'll get to see old friends and find ghosts from the past who you would have much rather avoided. However, Leon is a problem that must be addressed, as it's a problem that was partly created by you, and partly by Raymond, the wizard leading the resistance. Traveling to the forest after seeing Ankoron is like walking in reverse on old footprints. Many memories tie you to this place. You move stealthily and approach the guards carefully. As attentive as they are, they don't spot you. You sense the heart of the resistance would be here. You know both the forest and Raymond well. As you near the headquarters, the sentinels surround you and threaten you with their weapons. All the questions they begin to ask you melt into silence as you tell them your name. The legend traveling along your side is deeply rooted in the stories the rebels have been hearing since they were children. Normally, they wouldn't have believed you so easily, but they know Ankoron is on your track, so they lead you to their camp. A cluster of tents is set in a clearing, while others are built on trees. A string of smoke rises from the chimneys, and a sort of mirth stirs in the air. Many watch you, curious. You study them as well, noticing an interesting detail. The members of the resistance belong to almost every magical race. Only Ankoron, the green-skinned sylph, walks to you.
About time you got here.
Had any doubts? He replies, half smiling.
No, and neither did Raymond.
Good. Would you take me to him?
Of course.
She replies, smiling back at you. You find the sylph particularly provocative. You feel comfortable around her, but she also intimidates you. You've never felt such contrasting emotions with such intensity. You follow Ankoron to the largest tent in the village. Inside, a handful of men are pointing at a map on the table, muttering. As you walk in, one of them raises his head, returning your gaze. Even after all these years, you recognize each other instantly. Raymond, you greet him with a simple bow.
Daragast.
I think you have many things to discuss.
Adds Ankoran.
Maybe it would be better to leave you two alone.
A single gesture from the wizard is enough. All the other men leave, nodding at you before leaving the tent. Their faces give away the awe of standing in front of a living legend. It's good to see you again, my friend, you say, trying to break the ice.
It's been a long time,
replies Raymond. You sit, and he hands you a cup of wine. Together you reminisce about your old adventures and bygone days. You share the dark moments as well as the nicer ones, your heroic feats and the base betrayals. You both discreetly avoid mentioning Asperia, your old flame. When you finally get to the reason that brought you here, Raymond summons some of the members of the resistance. There's something urgent to discuss, and he needs to explain why Ankoron has come looking for you, endangering her very life. Only the most eminent men take part in the meeting. among which are 2 wizards and a warrior you've never met, and of course, Anchoran, whose face you've become familiar with by now. They are the Resistance's advisors, and as such, they take part in every meeting. Raymond begins his address right away.
We need your help. Your presence here restores our souls, but it's not just that. You could help us find new allies so as to plan an offensive strike against Leon. Your opinion and your support are crucial.
You're talking to a man who can't do anything more than brandish a rapier against common enemies. Ghosts of the past are a completely different story. That sylph, Anchoran, is really good. She could certainly do better than me. She welcomes your recognition with a smirk.
Anchoran is a precious asset thanks to her abilities, but in a different way. Each one of us is essential to the cause. As you accepted our summons, well, I believe you might want to help us.
Of course. Choosing where to start from, though, that's a challenge. Only 3 people might help us. An assassin, a bard, and a former outlaw. You already know 2 of them.
We'll need the help and experience of all 3.
Perfect. I'll leave first thing tomorrow morning.
Who are these people?
Asks Anchoran. The bard's name is Ballad. He's a Teboshi who can gather information from unusual places in unusual ways. He travels the world on behalf of his sovereign. The assassin is Ulist Orontor, a dear friend of mine. We were both mercenaries, and he was with me when I fought Triumvar Lotanor. We protected Leon together. And as for the outlaw, actually, I would have bet he'd already joined your cause. His name is Karkas. He's a big guy, a natural-born fighter, maybe even one of the best in the whole world. If I had to choose who to recruit first, I'd say...
Ja, wen nehmen wir denn? Den Baden.
I'll start looking for my old friend, Balgod Oriar, the bard. He could gather a lot of useful information for the cause.
Where will you start looking?
Raymond inquires. He's a Teboshi. I'll start from there. You reply thoughtfully. It will be a long journey.
Text zu Ende.
Good night. Invite her in.
Hier geht es hier nicht mehr. Hallo?
I'll start looking for my old friend, Balgod Oriar, the bard. He could gather a lot of useful information for the cause.
Where will you start looking?
Raymond inquires. He's a Teboshi. I'll start from there. You reply thoughtfully. It will be a long journey.
Tatsächlich, hier ist vorbei. Hier ist vorbei mit der Vertonung. Ei. Ei. Ei, 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 ei. Na gut, Entschuldigung. It will be a long journey. You glance at him, wondering what else you might need. Raymond heads to a large wooden ottoman you hadn't yet noticed. Carefully he takes the key he kept hanging from his neck, hidden under his clothes. He turns it into the lock and opens the lid. From within he takes a bundle of rolled fabric, long and thin. A shiver runs through your back as you gasp what it exactly is. That thing shouldn't be here. Raymond lays the package on the table. Everyone's eyes, even those who just stood there without saying a word, are attracted to it. It looks like a sword, a warrior whispers. How insightful, replies one of the wizards caustically. A sense of suspension and disbelief takes you over. The advisors won't say a word, save for cutting remarks. However, as Raymond unties a bundle, a beautiful rapier is revealed. Everyone grows silent. 4 differently colored gems decorate the hilt. The first one is brown, representing the power of earth. The others are red, for fire, blue, recalling the strength of water, and finally, a colorless jewel embodies the power of air. The 4 magic stones protect the sword's bearer, but they may do much more. They are still powers of the sword. You need to discover as you only brandished it once a long time ago. The sort of ruin, you murmur. Pricelessly, replies Raymond. Everyone is staring at it, quietly holding their breath. You're the only one who manages to speak. How did you get it? I seized it after the destruction of the Tower of Balinor. It's a long story and there's no time now. Just know that I got lucky and that this is our only hope against Leon. Today, like many years ago, it's up to you to carry it. You reach out with one hand, accepting the rapier, and strap it to your side. There are a few more exchanges, updates on the resistance situation. At least you get to speak with the other 3 advisors before Ankaran leads you to your lodging. You must be tired, you'll want to rest a bit, states the sylph. Her scent inebriates you, lighting your sense. Despite the age of difference, you are keen to her extraordinary beauty. You could part with her now or try to seduce her. Okay, jetzt habe ich mal ein bisschen vorgelesen in meinem halb so schönen Englisch. Aber es ist folgendes. Es ist ja so, ich habe ja anfangs gesagt, zu Beginn gesagt, es ist praktisch wieder zurückgesetzt direkt nach dem Prolog. Das, was ich mit Encolimo gespielt habe, ist jetzt noch gar nicht hinterlegt sozusagen. Und ich habe jetzt auch den Baden gewählt. In meinem ersten Testlauf, um mir das überhaupt erstmal anzusehen, bevor ich es aufgenommen habe, habe ich das Beginning mit Ankaran gespielt. Da ist die Situation aus ihrer Sicht. Nicht aus der Sicht des Baden, den wir jetzt haben, sondern aus ihrer Sicht. Und endet ungefähr genauso hier an dieser Stelle auch. Jetzt frage ich mich natürlich, das werde ich aber wohl noch nicht herausfinden können, solange das hier alles in der Beta ist, kann ich dieselbe Situation praktisch nochmal dann mit ihr spielen oder ist das jetzt praktisch die Entscheidung, die ich mit ihr mache, die dann auch ihre Geschichte auf den gleichen Stand setzt? Ich vermute mal Letzteres, bin mir aber nicht sicher. Was wir jetzt einfach mal machen, wir laden die gute Dame natürlich ein.
We could keep talking inside. You get straight to the point. She smiles, accepting your invite.
Why not?
As you lift the tent's flap, she goes in ahead. It will be a long and busy night. You study your tent. There are a few blankets in a corner, a table with some clean water for washing, and a small cabinet with drinks and glasses. You notice the wine and water right away. Drink something? You ask, and she gladly accepts. You fill 2 glasses with red wine and hand her one of them. The sylph takes it, the cups clinking.
I grew up hearing stories of your youth, the feats of the strongest warrior in Hesperia. Would you tell me some more?
You didn't expect her request, and your face clouds up, but you manage to shake it off. If you want Ankaran to trust you, you'll have to give her something. Come, let's sit. You lay down the blankets and you both sit, glasses in hand. I traveled a lot, and my past has been less than pleasant, full of blood. I was a gladiator in the arenas. Friendly skirmishes at first, but then I was forced to fight in death matches. I'm not proud of everything I've done. My life changed when I lost my wife. You stop, as you'd rather avoid saying more.
You were married?
Yes, but she left me for another man. I found out he beat her, and when he crossed the line, I made him pay. She died, but I took his life. Silence looms over both of you for a while. The mood has gotten a bit weary, but you did invite her in. It's been years since it last happened. You could ask her to talk about her past, or you could dismiss her.
Also rausschmeißen ist doch jetzt keine Lösung. Erfahren wir mal was über die Dame in Grün.
How about you? It's your turn now, you say, taking another sip from your glass.
I was born in a village close to Balinor. I lived there until my family sold me off to a group of wizards. My parents were poor. They'd hoped I could have a better life that way. They couldn't have imagined what they would have done to me later. They were experimenters, outlaws for their very order. They operated on children secretly to create new races and to study the effects of magic. Their intent was to mutate living beings. So, here I am.
An intimate silence falls over you both. She lowers her head to the glass, but doesn't drink. You lean towards her and hug her, a kind and spontaneous gesture. Finally, the moment reaches its climax. You look at each other for a moment, and to both your heart's agreement, you kiss and let passion take over. You wake up with a start. You didn't notice the day had been dawned for a while now, and then you understand why. Anne Corin is by your side under the blanket. She's still sleeping. Her hair rests around her in stray locks, and she's more beautiful than ever. You get up carefully and get dressed as quickly as you can. Before leaving, you turn back and notice she's still sleeping. You wonder if you'll ever see her again, and your heart has a new hope. After all these years, you didn't think you could still fall in love. She makes you feel good, and you wouldn't want to miss out on a future with her. Why did this have to happen right now? You need to leave, and don't know when you'll see her next. Even though you haven't talked about it, it wasn't just a one-night stand. You are both extremely involved. At last, you really feel alive. Now, though, you need to depart immediately. If you're good enough and lucky, you'll get to see her again. You head to the stables where you're provided with a horse and leave without hesitation. You have your supplies and both rapiers in your bag. Now, your destination is straight ahead.
Ja, also hier haben wir ja wirklich viel vereint in The Ballad Singer. Da haben die Schreiber wirklich an vieles gedacht, von der Vorgeschichte mal abgesehen. Jetzt auch der Hauptgang, möchte man ja so sagen, der beginnt ja schon interessant. Erstmal so dieses typische, was planen wir denn, wen brauchen wir noch? Und dann diese B-Side Love Story sozusagen noch dazu. Da ist schon vieles dabei. Auch wenn man hier selber gar nicht spielt und sich praktisch eine Geschichte anhört, macht es schon, finde ich jetzt durchaus Spaß. Es ist praktisch wie ein Buch, das vor einem vorgelesen wird, bei dem man aber selber entscheiden kann, wie die nächsten Schritte sind, wenn man hier Entscheidungsmöglichkeiten hat. Wie hier, jetzt, gut, hier hat man jetzt nur eine, gut. Aber wir hatten ja schon andere Szenen, in denen man 4 hatte zum Beispiel. Ist schon nicht schlecht. Interessant wird es aber sein, wenn sich die ganzen Geschichten wieder kreuzen. Also gehen wir mal weiter voran und gucken. Dass man da die
As
Leute
you ride, the 1,000 voices of the forest accompany you. You haven't said goodbye to anyone, but that's part of the game. The less people that know where you're going and what you're up to, the better. Crossing Ismarin takes you several hours. There's nothing off throughout the whole forest. Suddenly, every sound seems to stop. You've been followed. You hear a whistle go straight past your head, soon followed by the thud of an arrow stabbing a tree trunk. You got lucky, but such a blessing rarely comes twice in a row.
Okay. Okay. Da haben wir doch diese 4 Entscheidungsmöglichkeiten. Was machen wir denn? Mit dem Pferd aus dem Wald rauslaufen. Okay. Mit dem Pferd in die Richtung laufen, wo es herkam. Absteigen und in die Richtung laufen, wo es herkam. Steht da noch mehr? Ja. Absteigen und hinter einem Baum verstecken. Ja, eine sehr gute Frage. Ich könnte jetzt, unten rechts hier ist Symbol zum Speichern. Ich könnte jetzt speichern. Ich mache das mal, um es auch mal zu zeigen. Hier, ja, ich speichere. Ich glaube, ich habe 50 Mal die Möglichkeit zu speichern, hier in diesem Schwierigkeitsgrad. Wenn jemand Italienisch kann, bitte, ich kann es nicht. Ja, wir machen einen neuen Slot. Ja, es geht hier eine Zahl runter. 1 weniger. Okay, sind mal mutig. Wir gehen mal dahin, wo der herkam.
You quickly dismount your horse. You hide behind your ride and seek shelter amidst the vegetation. With both rapiers in your hands, you head towards your opponent. A bolt caresses your hair. Then, you hear a loud thud of something falling to the ground, and quick steps running. You proceed, faster, and notice the hitman is fleeing across the clearing. You're almost on him. You have two options. You could jump on him to stop him, or you could use your rapier as a javelin to hit him on the back. You've done it in the past, and know you could succeed.
Auf ihn draufspringen. Auf ihn draufspringen.
You want to find out who he is. Your fighting instinct doesn't get the best of you this time, but neither does your survival instinct. He's an assassin, ready for anything. Despite that, you know this scum won't listen to reason. As you jump off your horse, you barely notice as your opponent hurls something at you. The projectile leaves a gleaming trail behind. You hear a thud, followed by another. You fall down and roll on your back, face up, to try and breathe better, but you realize you're drowning in your own blood. The knife is deep inside your throat, and everything fades to black.
Okay, schlechte Entscheidung. Das war eine schlechte Entscheidung. Nee, das ist Sound. Okay. Anstatt jetzt mal auf den Totenkopf zu drücken, laden wir das jetzt einfach mal. Und dann weiß
You
ich...
want to find out who he is. Your
Sehr
fighting instinct doesn't get the best of you this time, but neither does your survival instinct. He's an assassin, ready for anything.
gut.
Despite that, you know you quickly dismount your horse. You hide behind your ride and
Das wäre auch so eine Idee, dass die das bei einem zweiten Anlauf einfach mal ohne Ton lassen. Gut, das hat nicht gut geklappt. Ich habe es mir schon fast gedacht, aber jetzt habe ich auch mal ein Ableben. Bitteschön. Werfen wir halt was nach ihm.
with a skillful move, you shift your grip on the hilt and throw your blade. You see the weapon gleam for one brief moment in the forest before sinking into your opponent's shoulder blades. He drops to the forest floor. When you go to retrieve your sword, you see he is definitely dead.
Das will ich auch hoffen. Dann gucken wir uns den mal an. Was ist das für einer?
You see the hitman is human. He's slender, with sharp features, and he's wearing forest-colored clothing. You recognize he is a camouflage expert. You search his body, looking for something that could identify him, or at least explain the reasoning behind the attack, but you can't figure it out. You are sure he didn't act alone, and doubt that he was just trying to rob you. Alas, you won't find out anything more by staying here. You decide to resume your journey, planning to stop at the nearest water stream. You leave the Ismaran forest behind as quickly as you can. Now you know you may never let your guard down again.
Mhm. Oh, nichts vertont? Nichts vertont? Echt jetzt? Oh. Ich kann nur hoffen, dass wenn der offizielle Release da ist, dass hier gerade die Anfänge von dem Ganzen, inklusive dem The Beginning, vertont sind. Das ist ja schlimm, man muss ja schon wieder vorlesen hier. Na gut. In meinem nicht ganz so schönen Englisch. The path takes you through lush clearings and open fields. You enjoy the warm sunlight on your face, even though the recent fight worries you. Who sent the hitman? There must be a mole in the resistance. It's a part of all the power plays you've always hated. You'd like to be outside of it all, but nonetheless... Das Wort habe ich auch noch nicht gesehen. Nonetheless, you'll have to face some of these delicate dynamics. Anyhow, you need to move ahead with your mission. You've been riding all day and decide to set up camp in a clearing next to a babbling brook before it gets dark. After tying your horse to a tree, You light a campfire and lay out a blanket. You take a leaf and bring it to your mouth, whistling a merry tune to relax. Your mind wanders back to your past and the three friends you now need to recruit. You've shared many adventures together and are taken over by nostalgia. You approach the brook to fetch some water for the fire. Once you're close enough, however, you notice an odd ripple on the water surface. You back away immediately and your hand goes to your hip, looking for a sword. Unfortunately, you left the rapiers at the camp. Och, Kerl. Man vergisst doch seine Waffe nicht. Ui, ein Schlingel aus dem Wasser. Oder was ist das? Sonst. Lebrolachs. Aha.
The path takes you through lush clearings and open fields. You enjoy the warm sunlight on your face, even though the recent fight worries you. Who sent the hitman? There must be a mole in the resistance. It's a part of all the power plays you've always hated. You'd like to be outside of it all, but nonetheless, you'll have to face some of these delicate dynamics. Anyhow, you need to move ahead with your mission. You've been riding all day and decide to set up camp in a clearing next to a babbling brook before it gets dark. After tying your horse to a tree, you light a campfire and lay out a blanket. You take a leaf and bring it to your mouth, whistling a merry tune to relax. Your mind wanders back to your past, and the three friends you now need to recruit. You've shared many adventures together and are taken over by nostalgia. You approach the brook to fetch some water for the fire. Once you're close enough, however, you notice an odd ripple in the water's surface. You back away immediately, and your hand goes to your hip, looking for a sword. Unfortunately, you left the rapiers at the camp. A large brown head emerges from the stream. Its penetrating yellow eyes stare at you ravenously as its forked tongue darts at the air.
Ich habe mal auf Pause gedrückt. Ist euch auch etwas aufgefallen? Der Text, den ich gerade so wundervoll weniger gut vorgelesen habe, wurde hier jetzt vorgelesen. Super. Hätte ich das mal gewusst, hätte ich es mir gespart. Immerhin, hier passt jetzt die Audio-Synchronisation wieder mit dem Text, der hier steht. Wir haben also eine Riesenschlange vor uns. Und anscheinend keine Waffen. Perfekt. Na dann erzähl mal weiter.
It's an enormous river snake. The body is covered by scales which blend in with the ground. Fate is toying with you. Your nickname mirrors what seems to be your nemesis. You may have found the creature who can defeat you once and for all. Despite this, though, you won't go down easily, and get ready for an exhausting fight. First, you presume the snake will attack you. Being an animal, it will act on instinct. As its head springs towards you, the only thing you can do is dodge. You can move sideways, avoiding the creature's jaws, or roll back to reach the rapiers and the fire.
Also, letzteres klingt sinnvoll, um wieder an Bewaffnung zu kommen. Schauen wir mal.
You are fast and avoid the attack easily. Despite your fight with the hitman and all its consequences, your reflexes work just fine. Now you need to face the monster before it kills you. You move slowly, waiting for its next move. Under your gaze, it changes consistency. It turns to dew at first, which evaporates into mist. The air around you grows warm, and a strange fog heads your direction. You could try to hold your breath, stabbing the rapier into the mist, or you could take a few steps back and run. Or, still, you could take a defensive stance and see what the snake will do next.
Nun, der dritte Teil gefällt mir überhaupt nicht. Einfach mal blind in eine defensive Haltung gehen. Das könnte nach hinten losgehen. Weglaufen. Schwierig. Aber alle 3 Optionen sind nicht unbedingt die besten. Ich nehme die mittlere Option. Atem anhalten und Schwert rein. Mal gucken, ob das sinnvoll ist.
You try to hold your breath to keep from breathing in the fog. You stretch out, blindingly stabbing ahead of you. The rapier vibrates on contact with the evanescent creature. You hear something sizzle, followed by a deafening hiss. A stone lights up on the hilt of your blade, and the mist dissolves. The gargantuan snake turns back into its solid state. You're face to face again. This fight is exciting you, but you need to catch your breath and dry the sweat off your forehead. The air around you is scorching, and you're gasping for air. You won't last much longer. You must find a way to defeat the beast. It pulls back, preparing another attack. You could try to anticipate it, throwing the rapier at its eye if your aim is infallible. Or take a defensive stance and wait for the next move.
Wieder einmal haben sie das letzte Wort eingesperrt. Er ist ein guter Kämpfer. Vor allem mit dem Ding.
Using the rapier like this is a bold move, but your weapon skills allow you to perfectly calibrate the throw. The weapon flies like a javelin against the monster's eye, stabbing it up to the hilt. The creature drops dead to the floor in a pool of blood. You're exhausted, but run to get your weapon. Tonight, you'll have river snake meat for dinner.
Ja, dann mal guten Hunger.
You wake up at first light. Despite all of yesterday's struggles, you're well rested and begin to think of your next moves. You need to get back to the road, so you ready your horse and jump in the saddle. The memory of your night with Anne Corin is sweet company. You wonder if you'll ever have a future together, or if laying with her was a mistake. You sincerely hope she's safe while you're not together, but you've never been lucky with women so far. Your wife left you for a violent man, whom you ultimately killed. He beat her, and you couldn't stand it. Asperia Kamarin was killed by Riotor, Triumvar Lotanor's henchman. You killed him as well, but you would have rather torn him to pieces. Ruminating on the past saddens you, and you shake your head out of it, dedicating yourself to the mission at hand.
Weiter geht's.
Your current position offers you a wide array of possible destinations. You could look for the closest town to play some music and merry company. You're a bard, and you know the best places to make some money and gather some information while doing so. Ball has always been an envoy of Tibosh, which is east. If he's not in his nation, then he'll certainly be in one of the more populous cities of Kael'Sanar. It is likely that your search won't be easy. You'll need to go at this by elimination. You could head to Elasith, the Tibashi capital, or choose whether to head to Akma, Rasan, or Alanbor, which are among the largest cities in Kael'Sanar. You need luck to be on your side as well, but you're sure you'll be able to find some information along the way.
Der Reihe nach. Einfach der Reihe nach.
You opt for the farthest city, which is also Balgo Oriar's birth town, Ulasith. Your journey to Tibosh will be perilous. You already got a good taste of it in the past. You take the commercial route to stay away from the bloody outlaws. Many convoys had the same idea. Some travelers greet you along the way, while others are indifferent to your passage. All of them, however, have an armed escort. Amid the busy road, a group of merchants is engaging in a lively discussion with the leader of the soldiers, providing the security detail. You can't listen in on the conversation, but at one point, the whole troop turns their horses and heads back to Kael'Sanar. You could head to the merchants and offer yourself as a bodyguard so you won't travel alone, or just keep going on your own.
Also die Entscheidung ist, alleine unterwegs zu sein oder zu sagen, hey, ich passe auf euch auf. Ich passe auf euch auf.
You approach the convoy. Nobody is alarmed, but they examine you head to toe, acknowledging at a glance your skill with weapons. The first merchant you meet is a stocky man wearing a green mantle, a red sweater, and some strange black pants. All the others stand behind him, silently watching you. You presume he's the convoy leader. They deal in refined fabrics. Your escort left you. You go straight to the point right after having exchanged pleasantries.
So you have an eye for details.
The merchant caustically replies.
What do you want?
I'm Daragast, and I'm headed to Ulasith. I'm traveling alone, and I'm getting quite bored. Besides, it could be dangerous. We could proceed together. The merchant inspects you carefully, weighing your offer.
How much will this cost? You're not too young, and judging by the look of it, not too fit either.
You burst out laughing straight in his face. Just as you thought, he's never heard your name, and if he has, he isn't connecting it to your fame. Just the company for the road, some food, and a fire. It's merely a matter of safety, you reply kindly. The man signals for you to wait, turning around to confabulate with the others. Finally, he turns back to you and extends you his hand.
I'm Sovistar, leader of this company of weavers. Welcome among us.
You shake his hand. It couldn't have gone any better. However, you still have one doubt to clear. Why did the guards leave you?
We had an agreement. They were supposed to escort us to the border, but we were attacked by bandits. Some guards died in the fight, and the others asked for more money. We couldn't afford it, so they left.
Mercenaries usually aren't reliable. Who's your patron?
The king.
Sovistar swells up with pride. This keeps getting better. You're well known at the palace thanks to your past. You keep traveling over the next few days without any unexpected meeting, reaching the capital safely. It's a sumptuous city which never ceases to amaze you with its pink and white bricks. Sublime marble statues and silk banners decorate the streets, and all the houses have either flat or domed roofs. At the gates of Ulasith, Sovistar hands over a document to the guards, who escort you to the royal palace.
This is where our roads part, my friend.
Sovistar tells you. Maybe, but I need a hearing with the king as well.
You think he'll grant you one? I had to send thousands of letters to have the chance to show him our goods.
Continues the merchant, sneering. I have my ways. You approach one of the guards, and as if it were the most natural thing in the world, you greet him and introduce yourself. Could you tell your lord or his advisors that Daragast Lyar is here and would like some information on an old friend of his? The guard drops his jaw. Your deeds against Ryator San in the war that took place many years ago in this very city are still alive in the people's tales. All T-Bosch is grateful to you and welcomes you as a hero. Even the new king can't refuse a hearing with you. The merchant, hearing your words, is only now starting to understand who he had the honor to travel with. You smile at his surprised expression. The soldier disappears in the palace. Several minutes later, he reappears with the king himself. You bow before him, and he does the same.
To what honor do I owe the pleasure of your visit, Lord Lyar?
The king is young, tall, and thin, with long blonde hair that falls down his back. His appearance stands out from that of the other T-Boshi. Your portrait adorns many places throughout the city. You see it on paintings and commemorative statues. Despite your age, neither the soldier nor the king have any doubts regarding your identity. The rapiers on your hips simply confirm what everyone already knows. Besides, the sovereign's detail is so fierce you couldn't hurt him if you tried. I'm looking for an old friend, Balgo Oriar. I need his help.
Ball isn't here. He's been on a mission in Kael Sinar for a few months now. It's been a long time since we've last heard from him. I'm afraid you traveled all this way for nothing, Lord Lyar. Come now, you'll be my guest before you head back.
You bow and gladly accept his invite. You leave your weapons to the soldiers. They'll hand them back when you leave. You came to the wrong place. Now you'll have to choose your next destination.
Also schon allein für diese Vertonung war der Weg wert. Herrlich. Herrlich. Ja, gut, jetzt müssen wir weiter. Und wo geht's hin? Ich sag ja der Reihe nach. Aber wahrscheinlich ist es dann am Ende dort. Naja. Egal.
You've barely reached the town before people start overwhelming you with questions on your visit. New races aren't welcomed in Akma. Only humans dwell here. You enter the first tavern you come by to eat something. You approach the host and inquire about Ball. I'm looking for a friend. He's a bard with a wonderful silver lyre.
He's in jail.
The man cuts you short, answering readily. You're happy you've found your friend, yet you can't help but worry about him. How come?
He was here, singing and playing, but someone didn't like his music, so he got punched. Your friend was having the best on him, but the other guy knocked his head against a table and broke his neck. He's in for murder. Even though many people testified in his favor, he's being kept in for his safety. The dead guy's friends are just waiting for him to set one foot out of jail.
It's a dire situation. You need to solve it. You head to the barracks right away, as you need to talk with the bailiff who tends to the detained. When you arrive, you deposit your weapons and wait your turn. Bureaucracy is fast in Akma, and within the hour you are received by a massive man with a stern face.
What brings you to Akma? Why did you ask to see me?
A friend of mine is detained here, Balgo Oriar. He's a bard. You don't need to add another word. The bailiff snorts and smiles at you.
That bard is tough. He took a stand against the Harton family, and now they're out for revenge, because their ward's dead. Ball's innocent. It was self-defense, so we're just keeping him in to protect him.
No need to anymore. He's coming with me.
It's not that easy. There are 3 Harton brothers, and each one is at least twice your size.
Still smiling at him, you reply with confidence and a bit of bravado. That's something you haven't done in years now. Just hearing my name will have them shitting their pants, and if I'm wrong, we'll see what happens next.
And what would your name be?
Daragast Lyar.
The snake!
The bailiff jumps out of his chair and issues the order to release Baal immediately, and to escort him there with 10 men to retrieve all his belongings. Your name still inspires awe in some cities. You may not be as young as you once were, but experience is on your side. The door opens and your friend walks in, whistling. He's holding the silver lyre, and time seems to stop for a second. You've been through so much the memories crowd the room. You hug warmly. It's good to see you, Ball.
You too, Daragast.
The bailiff brings you up to speed on the town's situation. He advises you to avoid causing a fuss and attracting unwanted attention. The Harton brothers are sure to try an ambush, knowing Oriar's out. We'll leave right away. They won't have the time to try anything. The bailiff wishes the 2 of you good luck. You and Ball leave the barracks and go get your horses.
I didn't expect to see you here. Why'd you come looking for me?
The bard asks. His hair has turned gray just like yours did, and many wrinkles run through his slim face. You still cherish the memory of your challenge many years ago. The Resistance needs strong and expert allies such as you, for instance.
Normally I'd call you some name and head back to T-Bosch, far from wars and rebellions. But you got me out, and with any luck you'll help me out with those 3 thugs. So I'm in, unless you accept my counteroffer.
Baal caught you off guard. He's always been a resourceful man. Which is?
Leave all of this behind. Come with me to T-Bosch. Enough fights, wars, and useless bloodsheds. Just you, the lyre, and music. This is yours.
I've kept it for far too long.
He continues, handing you the lyre. As a matter of fact, it has always been yours. You entrusted it to Ball for personal reasons. You pluck at the strings and touch its base, awakening long-gone emotions. Thanks, Ball, for keeping it and playing it too. Now let's get out of here and you'll have my answer. You tie the instrument to your horse's saddle and leave Akma with your friend. Right outside the gates, 3 massive riders stare at you.
It's the Hartons.
Oriar tells you. I figured. Well, let's get this whole thing figured out.
I don't have a weapon.
Ball confesses. You unsheath both your rapiers, keeping the sword of ruin for yourself. The bard recognizes it and sounds a satisfied whistle. The 3 men are already armed. They are wielding axes and suddenly charge at the 2 of you. You could wait for them, or try to intercept them, even though you're clearly outnumbered.
Ich muss ja sagen, warten klingt in dem Fall irgendwie interessant, weil die dann gar nicht damit rechnen. Gegenangriff würden sie wahrscheinlich eher rechnen. So meine Intention bei dem Ganzen.
Wrong move.
Miss.
You keep your rapiers up against your opponents, who trample you with their horse's power. You can't even manage to get back up. They crush you mercilessly. So much for that. You're dead. Ball's dead with you, and the Resistance's hopes follow suit.
Okay. Falsch gedacht, falsch gedacht, falsch gedacht. Zurück, nochmal, ja, machen wir nochmal.
You've barely reached the town before people start overwhelming you with questions on your visit.
Das haben wir ja schon alles gehört.
You spur your horses against your opponents, Ball's on your left, and your current formation renders the enemy riding in the middle useless. The 2 of you jump on the others. Your jobs are easy. Rapiers have a wider range than axes. You pierce their throats, turn your horses, and head for the last brother. He fights, but now you outnumber him, and he doesn't stand a chance. That was easier than I expected, you sneer. Ball isn't laughing, though.
That's the point. I don't like this life. I'll follow you, but only out of debt. Are you sure you want to dedicate your life to death?
It's time to seriously think of your future. You could leave the Resistance, Raymond, Ancorin, and Leon. You could follow Ball to Tibosh in the hope of a peaceful existence.
Ach, da gibt's viel zu viele Geschichten, die nahelegen, dass ein Mann wie er nie lange in Frieden ruhen wird, leben wird. Ruhen kommt später. Nein, bei den 3 Entscheidungen habe ich schon eine gesehen, die passt hier wunderbar in diese Vorgeschichte rein. Und das ist natürlich die unterste mit dem Herzen. Keine Resistance, kein
I
Kampf.
can't come to Tibosh. There are many reasons, but Ancorin is the most important one. I couldn't see her again otherwise.
I respect your feelings, Daragast. I won't ask any more. As always, there's much more than just fealty to the cause with you.
You smile, but not out of happiness. Then you explain the situation to him. I have some other business to attend to. Wait for me in Ismarin, at the rebels' camp. I'll be there in a few days.
So be it. It seems our paths part yet again.
Not for long, Ball. I'll be there soon. You keep to the main road, reaching the borders of Ruloth in a few days' time. The forest awakens ancient memories, not all of which are pleasant. You need to find your friend, Ulist, and persuade him to join the resistance against Leon Munar. The first part of the forest is deserted. Before heading to the east area, which houses some settlements, you decide to go towards the center, where you buried Asperia. When you find the tombs, you make a scorching discovery. The stones have been moved, and there are signs of a struggle on the ground. Someone raided the tombs. You look inside the graves, but there's no trace of the bones. Someone stole the remains. A tear of sadness and resentment crosses your face. Who could do such a thing to Asperia? Only Ulist could know. You spur your horse, headed for the populated area of the woods. You reach a clearing teeming with life. There's a true and proper village here, with children playing cheerfully. The dwellers notice you and inspect you carefully. They're not used to visits. A mane of red hair makes its way through the bystanders. Melanir, Ulist's wife, is unmistakable. Their troubled love story would have made just about anybody smile. It even inspired your ballads. Back when they first met, your friend was a professional assassin, and she was a prostitute. Love knows no boundaries and changes hearts. You're happy to see her, and her smile shows the feeling is mutual.
Daragast!
She screams as she runs toward you. You dismount your horse, and the two of you hug. How are you, Melanir?
Fine, but you've been away too long. You look a bit battered. Come on in, take a bath, rest for a while. We'll wait for Ulist together.
She replies happily. Reassured by Melanir's reception, the residents go back to their daily business. Nobody missed your name, though, and they keep glancing at you, curious to see the living legend who defeated the tyrant Triumvar Lotanor 20 years ago. As you chat merrily, Melanir prepares a warm bathtub for you, and the two children enter the home.
Mom, Jacob keeps bothering me,
Yells the younger one, about 6 years old. The two freeze upon seeing you, speechless.
Stop bickering and say hi.
Melanir threatens them.
Daragast, these are my sons, Jacob and Alan. Come on, say hi.
Hi, Daragast.
They both chant aloud. Hello, children, you reply, smiling. They have their mother's red mane. The oldest is about 10 and has Ulist's demeanor.
All right, take your time. Clean clothes are on the chair. Ulist's size should fit you.
Melanir hands you a piece of soap. You gladly accept, and you're left alone. You bathe in the tub, and also in memories, reliving the days of old when you'd travel together with your friend, as soldiers of fortune at first, and questing partners later. You scrub all the dirt and sweat off, and get dressed. Right as you're about to leave, someone knocks at the door. I'm dressed. Come on in. Everyone comes back inside. The children run to another room to play. Melanir, always sunny and smiling, comes in first, followed by your friend, Ulist Orantor. He has a few wrinkles on his face, and his hair has grown white, but his hands are still strong, and his body still slim and toned, despite a bit of gut due to age.
I didn't believe it,
Says the former assassin. Well, you can now. You both hug and burst into tears. You don't need any other words, nor to say anything else. Your bond is so strong that the empathy hasn't decreased over the years.
Tonight, we'll make a feast for the whole village, with music and dancing.
Declares Ulist. Thank you, my friend. I could really use some rest.
What brings you here?
I'm here on the Resistance's behalf. Join us, you tell him, getting straight to the point. Melanir clouds up, and Ulist's face changes expression.
I have a family now, and a business. However, I owe you a lot, and I can't say no to you so easily. It's a tough decision. Stay with us for a while, and then we'll see.
You don't have to answer right away. I can wait for a few days. You both turn to Melanir, who's smiling sadly.
Whatever you do, I want him back safe and sound at the end of it all.
She's talking to you, and the admonishment isn't new. You have my word, but please, tell me, what happened to the tombs?
I think it was Leon. He must have been looking for Triumvar's talisman. He left the tombs as you found them. I took care of Asperia's body. We cremated her, and I spread the ashes. May she find peace.
Explains Ulist. Thank you. The children's laughter takes you to lighter thoughts and subjects. The evening proceeds with tales and good food. All the village is together. This community pivots around Ulist's family. He founded this hidden place in the world, smuggling exotic delicacies from other cities. Some animals they hunt in these woods cannot be found anywhere else. After the wizard's experiments and the fall of the Tower of Balinor, many of those creatures ran, hiding in every corner of Kael'Sanar.
Sing us something.
You're urged by a village woman.
Naja, er ist ja hier der Bade, ne? Also er kann das. Achso, soll er das mal tun? Bisschen so rumsingen, gell?
Of course, you reply with a smile on your face. You stand up as everyone turns quiet and start singing a ballad. Your talent as a bard charms the village dwellers. Night falls on men's hearts, mist rises on women's souls. Sooner or later the sun shall fade, moon's here to light the world. A flame yet burns in the camp's midst, warming desires like a bright fire. One moment of peace, one moment of light. The people applaud you for several minutes. Melanir's heart had already been touched by that song in the past. It's a love anthem, nostalgic though it may be.
So, will you come hunting with us tomorrow?
Ulist asks you. I'd love to, my friend. The feast goes on with jokes, laughter, and dancing. Ulist wakes you up, and after you get dressed, he hands you over a black spear, along with a knife with a blade as long as your forearm.
Don't take the rapiers. They'd just be an impediment. Take this knife. It'll be much more useful.
You accept and leave your weapons at home. Without adding anything else, you head for the forest. It's first light, and it's not too hot yet. This is the perfect moment to hunt. The animals have just woken up, and you have a good chance of catching them by surprise. So, what are we hunting for? You ask Ulist.
They're called saprifix. They're large birds with small wings. They can't fly. Their beak, though, it's as sharp as an eagle's, and they're about the size of bears. They protect their nests strenuously, and they don't fear man.
So, easy prey, huh? You caustically reply. Ulist smiles.
Come on, old man, and be quiet. There's one leaving the nest right now.
What your friend just called a nest is really a cave, with a stagnating and smelly water pool right outside. The creature is exactly as he described it. It's not alone either. Another one exits the cavern, and their call reminds you of an eagle's. You're on a hill with a great vantage point, and with even numbers. However, you are in their territory, and given the prey's size, the hunt is dangerous. You can't talk, or you'll be heard by the saprifix. Therefore, you'll use some signs you agreed upon. A closed fist with the index finger signals to launch the weapon. A closed fist signals to approach the animals and stab them. Ulist leaves the choice up to you.
Also Riesenvögel, ja? Gefährliche Riesenvögel. Saprafixe. Entschuldigung. Gucken wir mal.
You sign with the index finger, and you both throw your spears. Ulist hits his mark first, piercing the beast, which cries out in pain. Your weapon flies to its target, stabbing its chest. You're both two artists when it comes to weapons, and you cut your risks to a minimum. A face-to-face with these creatures could have been lethal.
Great shot, mate.
Ulist smiles. Let's skin them and get this over with, you reply, patting him on the back. You finish the job before heading back to the village.
Gute Entscheidung.
As you come back to the village, the residents claim the spoils. Melanir has already prepared your lunch, and you all sit around the table, the children laughing and eating heartily. Over the next few days, you dedicate yourself to hunting and smuggling. This lifestyle reminds you of your past as a mercenary, and you could get used to it. Your life would be much more peaceful. On the second night, while you're drinking some beer with your friend, sitting outside the hut, the mood grows tense.
So, it's time to choose, my friend.
Ulist tells you seriously, and...
I'll join the resistance, unless you'd rather stay here and become a smuggler.
You didn't expect the offer. It seems you're facing quite the dilemma. The lifestyle he's offering is tempting, and you need to choose wisely. You won't be able to turn back.
Nee, das soll er auch gar nicht. Den Banditen, den Schmugglern hier beitreten, loyal sein. Oder das tun, was er schon vorhin gesagt hat. Da wir diesen Weg ja schon beim anderen eingegangen sind, machen wir das hier genau dasselbe.
I can't stay, Ulist. I have many reasons to go back, but Ancorin is the most important. I want to see her again. Your friend nods.
I'll leave for Ismarin in a few days. We'll meet there.
I'll be leaving tomorrow. I have a few things to tend to first. Then we'll meet in the forest in a few days' time. Raymond will welcome you with open arms.
Prima. Was war denn noch?
You wake up at first light. Despite all of yesterday's struggles, you're well rested and think of your next moves. You need to get back on the road, so you ready your horse and jump in the saddle. After a few days' travel, you reach the shining city of Athenios. You know your way around well. You took part in the city games many times when you were younger. You won most of the time. That's how you got your nickname, Snake. Walking through the city, merchants and mercenaries enliven the streets. The gladiator events are taking place. This is the most flourishing period of the year for Athenios. The walls are covered with posters of the finals of the gladiator fights. One of the two finalists is your old friend, Carcass, so you head to the arena. You find a high seat in the bleachers, far from the center of the stadium. The fighters make their entrance, wielding blunt weapons. Fights to the death are banned in Athenios, even though accidents may occur. Only Tibosh allows last blood fights, as they're much more remunerative for fighters. You study Carcass and his long hair, still black as night, tied into a ponytail. His mighty musculature is highlighted by the sun. His opponent is younger, and just as imposing with his head bald and shiny. You feel a jolt of excitement and adrenaline, almost tasting the song of steel. It takes you back in time. You'd like to be in there, fighting for glory. You'd still be able to. The thought's time was long enough. The fight is already over. Carcass disarmed his adversary and is now standing above him, 1 foot on his chest. The crowd cheers, applauding the winner. Gladiator fights never last more than 5 or 6 exchanges. You climb down the bleachers, waiting for your friend where the crowd is gathered to see him from up close. A metal fence separates them from the arena, supervised by soldiers. Carcass prances around, taking homages until he gets to you. Wow, it's been so long, you ox, you cry out as he shakes your hand absent-mindedly.
You!
He drags you out of the crowd as if you were light as a feather, hugging you tight. The crowd bursts into applause.
I thought you were dead,
says Carcass. You thought wrong, is your reply.
What brings you here?
Let's talk about it with some ale after you're done celebrating.
At the Black Tankard Inn, then, for dinner,
Carcass offers. I'll see you later, then. The guards let you through as you leave the arena, headed for the inn. You negotiate a price for a meal, a bed, and to stable your horse. Despite the people rushing in, you're sure to have a place here. As dinner time approaches, Carcass hasn't arrived. You're hungry and decide to order without waiting for him, when a huge, hairless man with green eyes sits at your table, scowling. It's the man who lost against Carcass.
You're that bastard's friend!
He's drunk and sluggish, and you decide to ignore him. Despite this, however, he grabs the table, hurling it in the hall. The tavern's customers grow silent. What do you want?
Satisfaction,
He replies.
Hey! Out of here, both of you!
The barkeep yells.
Out with me, pig!
He's trying to take his defeat out on somebody, and you're the scapegoat. Death fights aren't allowed in the arena, but honor badges and duels are another thing altogether. Let's go. You take your rapiers, and the man precedes you into the street. A circle of curious bystanders forms around you. Your opponent takes out an axe with a large, chipped blade as you unsheath both your rapiers. Taking rapiers to an axe fight hardly bodes well for a swordsman. The winner is normally the quickest draw. This will be the key to your success or failure.
Der ist betrunken. So, kann man ja mal vorangehen, oder? Hoffe ich.
You move with exceptional grace in the light of dusk and the people's torches. Your rapier's tips jolt against your opponent as if brushing his arms. They leave deep cuts, and he breathes an animal-like cry. He charges in a raging attack, which you must avoid.
Probier's damit.
It's a smart move. You could never parry such a heavy blade. You manage to divert the blow, immediately wounding the arm wielding the axe. The gladiator loses his grip on the weapon and drops to his knees. He's panting, foaming from the mouth.
Bastard!
He mumbles.
So, was macht man? Freundlich ist er ja jetzt nicht, ne? Das könnte voll die falsche Entscheidung sein. Mal gucken.
Leave now, and don't you dare come back. You threaten your enemy.
You're making a mistake,
He replies. If you want another match with the snake, come look for me. The crowd hushes, including the bald man you just defeated. Nobody had recognized you after all these years. Your nickname is a legend. The man suddenly springs up and runs, as the mob disappears at once. Only Carcass remains.
I don't know what happened, but you must have had your reasons,
Says your friend. I don't want to talk about it. It's not what I'm here for.
You still got it.
Carcass adds. As a matter of fact, blood is boiling within your veins, and old habits are emerging. Let's go eat. You try to change the topic.
Let's go inside. I have an offer for you.
So do I. You sit to drink some ale and eat stew with potatoes, laughing and joking as two old comrades in arms. But actually, you met Carcass only when the war with Triumvar was at its end. Your friend was still an outlaw. He joined your cause and fell in love with Melanir, but he always respected her bond with Ulist. Maybe that's why he chose to change his life once the war was over. Now you're sitting at the same table, talking of bygone feats. Carcass is more talkative than you, as you prefer listening, but it's still an enjoyable moment. Besides, you just got a good taste of fencing in a duel, which was thrilling. Who knows? This might be the way to find someone stronger than you. It's been your goal all your life.
So, Daragast, why'd you come looking for me?
For Raymond and the Resistance. I want to recruit my old friends and convince them to join the cause. Will you? The man bursts into a genuine laughter.
Hell no. I don't want to get into all that stuff again. I like it here. You shouldn't have gotten mixed up either. The hermit's life suited you.
You saw this answer coming. You invoke your old friendship and what just happened outside the inn between you and his opponent. Come on, Carcass. You're much more than a simple gladiator. You've always had moral integrity, and I don't think you could stand what Leon has become. Besides, I just faced a brute only for the crime of being your friend. You can't turn me down like this. The massive man looks at you seriously, all traces of humor gone from his face.
You're right. You accepted the challenge from me, and yes, there's more to me. But rebel causes aren't my forte. Last time, there were too many deaths. Of course, I can't really refuse. Unless you're willing to accept my offer.
Let's have it. You invite him to talk. You want to hear more.
I noticed you're still a good fighter, and your name is still impressive. You just need to say it with the right timing. You might have a future as a gladiator. Before you do, though, you'd have to restore its splendor here in Athenios.
Carcass begins. Where do you want to get to?
To the T-Boshi arenas, where the real money is, where we could be kings.
You know those arenas far too well. You've been there as a slave, and made your way to freedom one fight at a time. There are no rules. All fights are lethal. You feel a thrill as you keep thinking of finding the man who could defeat you.
Come with me. Let this resistance thing go.
Auch bei ihm nehme ich dieselbe Antwort, um auf dem Weg zu bleiben, sozusagen.
No, Carcass. If I were to accept your offer, I could never see the woman I care for again. Your friend nods.
All right, then. I'll come to Ismarin. I'll join your cause yet again, Daragast. I just hope I won't come to regret it.
I'll be leaving tomorrow. I have a few things to tend to first. Then we'll meet in the forest in a few days' time. Raymond will welcome you with open arms. You finish eating and take your leave. Whatever happens now is a shot in the dark. Meanwhile, you hope to rest, as you deserve.
So, damit sind mal alle Vorarbeiten sozusagen erledigt. Dann wollen wir mal zurück und... Nicht vertont. You've gone through a long journey, crossing 100 perils, but finally you've carried out your task. Now you only have to get back to the Resistance. So you travel to Ismarin, the great forest where Raymond and all the others who oppose Leon's tyranny have taken as their home. So.
As you enter the Ismarin forest, you smell the scent of smoke in the air. The trees are white with ashes. It can't be a simple fire. Something terrible must have happened. Your heart beating strong in your chest, you head to the rebels' camp at the center of the forest. Once there, you discover a pack of menacing creatures is invading the center of the clearing. As soon as you're within their sight, they start charging you. You feel lost, but Ancorin soothes them with a whistle.
Finally. We were only waiting for you, deadbeat.
Ancorin starts, smiling. I'm glad to see you too, you reply, shaking your head. What are these creatures?
They're Greystorm. They'll be precious allies for the Resistance.
Ancorin and the Greystorm aren't the only ones waiting for you. Ulist, Ball, Carcass, and a stranger are also at the camp.
You must be Daragast.
The stranger starts. Yes. What happened here?
We had to run. Raymond led us to Satrapor. Leon was about to attack us.
How long have you been here? You ask your friends.
He was already here when we got here,
Replies Ulist, nodding to the stranger.
We've been waiting for you for a couple of days. We'd have left after a few more.
You nod at your friend and turn back to the stranger. Could I know your name?
I'm Palisar, the new head of the Resistance. You got here just in time. I couldn't have waited much longer. I came back for you and Ancorin. Now, let's head to Satrapor to reorganize the Resistance.
That's too much information all at once. You need to let it all sink in. And Corin had a mission too? What happened to her? Why is this man leading the resistance? Where is Raymond?
He was killed by
Why
a
isn't
hitman.
Raymond here? You ask, as your heart pounds against your chest.
He had appointed me as his successor to lead the resistance before that, though.
You're sad for this loss, but you need to accept it. Probably the same one who tried to stop me before I came looking for you.
I left a man in Satrapur who's in charge of our troops. I've come back here to take you to the city. We'll plan our next moves from there.
Let's go then. No time to lose. You call for action. It will help you not to fall into sadness. Upon reaching Satrapur, you find out all the other wizards of the Resistance are dead too. The situation is dire. Your sword is the last magical defense against Leon. You brush the sword's hilt and close your eyes, thinking of Raymond and the hopes he had pinned on you. But you're not a leader, and you think Palisar will be a worthy successor. Everyone is, in their own way, trying to keep up the rebels' morale. Timos is trying harder than anyone. He's a tall, massive man, and a skilled strategist. He's tight with Palisar. You, Ulist, Ball, Carcass, and Ancorin all swear loyalty to the cause, inspiring everyone's awe. However, you would like to understand how Raymond died. You ask around, starting a small investigation, until you are approached by a boy as you're talking to a few of his friends.
Hello, Daragast.
What's your name?
Phil.
He replies, blushing. He looks torn, but since he's shy, you'll have to strike the right chord. Come, sit with us. The boy gladly accepts, and also takes the beer stein you've offered him.
So, what is it, boy?
Carcass asks, convivial as usual.
I heard you're looking for Raymond's assassin.
You look at each other, silently.
Talk, Phil.
Ulist urges him on.
I'm scared.
Don't worry. You're safe with us.
Ball adds,
Yes, we'll protect you.
and Corin reassures him. The boy musters up some courage and spills the beans.
The other night, I heard Timos talking to someone. I couldn't recognize him, but he was boasting about how he killed the wizards. He said the resistance is reaching its true goal, how only Leon is left.
Are you sure that's what you heard? You ask, shocked. He nods, firmly, even though he's afraid and nervous.
Could it be Palisar, the man he was talking to?
Ulist asks.
No, I know his voice, but he might be involved, since they're friends.
Phil answers. Go now, boy. Don't mention this to anyone, you tell him, looking him straight in the eyes. The boy leaves, disappearing in the night lights.
What do we do?
Ball asks. Phil has no reason to lie. Let's go get Timos.
Let's wait for the dead of night first.
Ulist proposes. You're the assassin. We need him to answer our questions before we kill him. You all agree, and wait for darkness to shroud you. Finally, you sneak out of your lodging. Ulist shuts his mouth closed and holds a knife against his throat. Carcass points his sword at him, and you and Ball tower over him. Hello, Timos. If you don't answer our questions, Ball will make you suffer like hell. The man opens his eyes wide and fails to hold his bladder for the terror. You sign at Ulist, and he lets the man's mouth go. What's your first question?
schwierig. Man könnte ja erstmal so allgemein fragen, oder? Hier, das da. Oder direkt darauf gehen. Gucken wir erstmal hier. Das ist ja die erste Frage. Vielleicht kommt noch eine.
Who were you boasting to about the wizard's death?
To someone who's killed a lot.
He replies, gasping for air. His answer isn't satisfying, so you nod at Ball. Timos understands your intentions and fights desperately, but you close his mouth once more. You cut off a finger and keep on interrogating him.
Okay. Ja, so macht man Befragungen, ne?
Did it? Suddenly, a black square-bladed dagger slits his throat, and the words die in his mouth. There's a hole in the tent, and you all run outside. The situation is escalating.
Ein P.
You quickly run out of the tent, and 2 more darts jolt towards you. Your friends are held back, and you find yourself alone, staring into Palisar's eyes. Says the elf. You shouldn't have killed Raymond, you reply. Before he prepares another dart, you have to attack. You also hear footsteps behind you, and you understand Palisar isn't alone. Your friends are already busy fighting someone else. Since they were held back, you're going to have to take this fight alone, ending it as swiftly as possible. You move forward, unsheathing both your rapiers, and the elf mirrors you, wielding a sword and a dagger. The dim light is enough to study the opponent. Palisar is in a defensive stance, barely exposing his left leg. You should figure out how best to attack. Maybe you could try to open up his defense, stabbing at him, or try and bind him to disarm him. Or finally, you could try a direct blow to his front leg.
Ich sagte an anderer Stelle mal, es gibt immer so kleine Hinweise. In diesem Fall wäre es das hier. Mit diesem Hinweis.
You fell for the same trick you've been using for years. Only you'd normally wait for your opponents to be tired and mad. You dive right in and only figure it out when reaching for a low hit as you lose your balance, leaving your head wide open. Your skull is cracked open like a cantaloupe by Palisar's blow, just as he moves his leg back. Unfortunately for you, you underestimated the assassin's threat.
Okay, es war ein Hinweis, aber in die falsche Richtung, möchte ich jetzt mal sagen. Na gut.
You quickly run out of the tent, and 2 more darts jolt towards you.
Ja, schon gehört.
Your move is clever, worthy of a sword master like yourself. You look for Palisar's dagger, tricking him in. With a quick wrist movement, you disarm him, leaving him with only his sword and a shocked expression. You have to take advantage of this new situation to press him on. Should you try to disarm him of the sword as well, or press him on, attacking with both your rapiers?
Ich bin ja kein Schwertkämpfer, ne? Deswegen sage ich ja hier Vollgas.
To press on your opponent, you start assaulting him with a flurry of blows he can't dodge. It doesn't take long before you manage to wound his knee. Finally, you pierce one of his lungs, and Palisar gasps for air. You won't get the information you were looking for, but at least you took down the enemy. You turn to your comrades, who are doing fine, fortunately. Now, you'll have to choose what to tell the other rebels and the city of Satrapor.
Tja. Und bevor man das machen kann, ist diese, ich sag mal, Episode auch zu Ende. Ja, so beginnt es mit dem Baden. Mal schauen. Es sind ja noch 2 übrig, die das Beginning durchspielen können. Die werde ich natürlich auch noch präsentieren. Dann bis zum nächsten Video.